Hi everyone, you're watching the Haider Rifaat Show and I'm your host Haider Rifaat. In today's exclusive episode, I've been joined by the very brilliant Omair Rana. He's a theatre director as well as an actor. Thank you so much for joining me, Omair. It's a pleasure having you on the show.
Welcome, pleasure, nice being here.
Right. Omair, tell the viewers a bit about your professional experience with acting and stage included, both. For how many years have you been directing and acting professionally, and what got you into acting in the first place?
It's never been an easy question to answer because it's been such a gray line. It's like the colors of the rainbow. You don't know when one stopped and the other began. But I think my first TV professional stint was Teen Pata Teen back in the early 2000s. And then but prior to that, I was already doing theater. I had my own theater company, which is an amateur professional theater company, which we had kicked off. And we'd already done a couple of plays. I had acted professionally on stage also, coincidentally here in Lahore. And when did I begin? I really don't know. It's one of those things that you do in school and you never stop. I mean, I just never stopped. That's how it all started. And it all started behind a green door in Alain English Speaking School, AESS. And God bless our principal, rest in peace, Mr. Crawford was big on theater. And theater as a medium of teaching and learning was fantastic. And I discovered later in life that he was absolutely right. It is a fantastic medium of learning, which I learned as a drama teacher, a drama director, producer. So yeah, I mean, that's how it started, and I never stopped, as I said, and I kept doing professional stuff in the various forms. TV shuru kiya, chhod diya, phir wapas aage through films and then back to TV. So yeah, that's been my journey.
Right. Omair, why do you think that theater is not as much appreciated in our country as television or the film medium
are? I think it is appreciated. It's just that it's not provided. And the challenge of that primarily has been financial, primarily. The commercial element has been killed. And there's been no sustenance of theater in many ways by the government or the private ones. And other than that, we've never had proper streamline of craft, culture, and talent towards this. It was never, you want to become a doctor, you know what you have to do. You even know what subjects you will need to take on in maths, in metric or inter, or take that exam. You know those things. It's a very streamlined, any profession. But for theater, it's never been the case. It's never been prior to that. Cultural, state की तवज्जो नहीं रही, government की तरफ, किसी भी government की तवज्जो नहीं रही. Therefore, it's been like the sand beneath your feet, and I keep giving that visual. There's the sand beneath your feet at the beach, and sort of erodes.
Now, as a theater director, what core aspects do you really consider when it comes to directing actors and also the plays itself? What are the components that you really take into consideration? क्या चीज़ ऐसी है जो कि एक theater play को stand out करती है?
It's been a very long time. Not a very, maybe 3 years since I've directed a play. And I miss it to the core of my heart. But the things that I do recall, which come naturally back to me, when I'm looking for a script, a lot of these have depended upon multiple things. One, many times, what talent do I have before? All the number, the type, whatever, the team that I have. But even with that, you think about, all right, what do I wish to address? What can this talent do? What do I wish to address? What is the audience? So all these things come into play. So it tells you about the genres, the subject, the language, the mise en scène, the visuals that you will create, and of course the space I'm going to use, which will work in terms of designing the entire thing. So those are the motive baat. So these are the broad outlines of what I'd be looking into in terms of. When it comes to directing the team, the cast, I've had a great experience and pleasure of having to work with numerous college school boys and girls. So they're all raw talent. If there's anything, they're not coming experience. So that has been painfully pleasurable. Painfully pleasurable. Why? Because many auditions are like, okay, fine, I can't be rude. I have to be polite, but I have to be patient. But I really can't survive this. But at the same time, there's so many that you see blossom, surprisingly sometimes predictably, and the things that you're looking on, and again, this is a long spiel. I mean, if I'm directing the cast, they need to know the script,
right.
Front, back, left, right, in, out. So that is your as I say, this is your Gita. Right? This is your Bible. This is your Quran. This is the core that you're going to do. So our job is to bring it from page to stage. So we have to understand the page and everything within it. So when we work on characters and relationships, and we create a repertoire between the cast, that synergy has to be created. Then tapping in terms of the inner life, the pre-curtain history of the characters, the contributions they make to the entire play, the super objective of it, they make it to each scene, understand those things, the emotive elements of it, the rational elements of it, the physical elements of it, then exercising all these things, including vocal exercises. So we're looking at all that to be able to bring out what I term is the best mistake that we can present.
Right. Now, Omair, I've seen that many young actors in today's generation tend to play it safe when it comes to their when it comes to experimenting with their characters in terms of their physical appearance, how they appear on screen. It also has to do with how they look, how they dress for the certain characters. So do you think that is an issue and that defeats the purpose of effective storytelling?
I don't know if it defeats it, but it can and has many times diluted the story that you want to tell. Because the story, if the story requires me to look a particular way, I'm just talking about the exterior, right? So if the story requires me to look a particular way, but I'm reluctant to do that, and yet I'm in that story, then obviously I've watered it down. For example, Othello was considered as a person who's dark-skinned amongst white people. But if I'm reluctant to be dark-skinned, it just completely falls flat, right? So that's an absolute. But then you talk about the minors. That Cyrano de Bergerac, right, is supposed to be a character with a long nose. And say, all right, you know what, I'm not going to keep a very long nose. So just keep it an average long nose. And it's like, hold on, but that, again, is diluting the entire. If someone's supposed to have a desi look, but he's keeping to Gora look of it, to Valeti look of it, to upper class of it, again, it's diluting the effect. So these are just the visuals. Issues kya hai? People will jump to it and immediately say they're not honest with their craft. Yeah, maybe some aren't. Maybe some aren't that driven by it. They're doing it as a dehadi, they're forced to do it. But many times, many people don't realize it. They haven't been told. They haven't made a point. You need this. And most of the times, in the television industry, it's about a brand placement. You as an actor become a brand, and you have to place yourself in a particular way. So this is how you look. And it's been more about the exterior than the internal. So it's been more about, all right, looking nice, classy, and beautiful, and sexy, and husky, than, all right, who is this character? How is this character different from the actor? You know?
Because nowadays it feels as if actors are playing themselves rather than the characters that are being, assigned to them. Don't you feel that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you get lots of them. You say, all right, this person is going to speak like this. This person is going to move like this, which is fine in certain cases, because some great actors, you and I can mimic great ones, like perhaps we can try Al Pacino, De Niro, whatever, we can try and work on their mannerisms. But when you talk about one character and another character, the same actors, you say, oh my God, there's a huge difference between these two characters, right? The mannerisms might be similar, but the characters are completely different. And you're taken aback. So it's not necessarily just the visual. It's the person which is completely changed. So for example, from Raging Bull of Robert De Niro, and then you look at, all right, Godfather 2. So look at the difference between the people, right? And it's more or less a similar time also. So look at the difference that you have. So you may have the same mannerisms and expression that you might find, but the people are completely different. They work on them.
Right. Now, Omair, what issues in Pakistan's entertainment industry do you feel are not talked about enough in the mainstream media that you feel are issues that need to be addressed?
What particular aspect of the industry?
It can be production-wise, direction-wise, the kind of stories that we're telling. along those lines?
I think we've talked a lot about the kind of stories we tell. We keep talking about, we keep ranting and complaining about the SaaS thing and stuff, right? And the poor woman stuff. But what we don't realize is how the industry operates. And there's certain aspects to the core of the industry, the foundations that need to be fixed. The first and foremost thing is, let's not call it an industry anymore until the state recognizes it officially as an industry. We'll call it the media sector. Let's just start calling it that. Because there's a huge power in language, right? So when we keep calling it media industry or entertainment industry, we are deluded to believe that the state has recognized this as an official formal sector of industry. And what do I mean by that? I mean by that if you are working in any form of industry, like textile industry, like let's say ginning is part of textile, let's say mobile manufacturing, like software industry.
Right.
If I'm a software house, I can go to a bank and say, I'm part of the software industry. This is my company. It's registered. And I need to take out a loan. I need to open an account, yada, yada. Production houses today cannot go to a bank and take a particular loan for a production because they're not recognized as an industry. So entertainment is not an industry. So it's just a sector. Okay. So that is one core aspect of the entertainment. And the second core is that the illusion which we build, right? That's our job, right? So the lie that we build. So the illusion is that there's a star. So we're living fantastic lives in terms of monetary success, and stability, security. It's all a shit. It's all an eyewash. It has been more fueled by social media, by, oh my God, so he's got 4 million followers. Right? But how does that work in terms of stability, putting bread on the table? So the great vast majority, and I always talk about generally talk about majority, not the exceptions, the actors have struggled to maintain a streamline of income and to have that even post their professional life. So all actors have generally put something else as a profession as well at the same time. They have a shop or a production, something else, or an investment somewhere else. And they try to get to that point where they can do it. What actors and artists across the world need are royalties or residuals, so that whenever their work has been re-exhibited or resold, they get a fraction of the revenue of that reselling. And that maintains, that's kind of like 1/5 of the monthly salary normal people get, maybe less, not even 1/5. So what does that do? It just keeps them slightly sustained through and through. And even after they die, it can pass on to the next of kin. So they keep getting some degree of sustenance from whatever contribution work that they have put in.
Personally, are you satisfied with the kind of stories that are being told right now in our television and film landscape? And if you would like, what kind of stories would you like to tell as a director or as someone who wants to be in a project as an actor?
No, I'm not wholly satisfied. And why am I saying that is because I'm not looking at the exceptions. Again, as I said, the principles are set out on the general, the majority. And if I have 70 projects coming up, so many channels, and from them I find 2 or maybe at most 5, which are reasonably or pretty good, that's really not the average we should do. We need to have a higher average. So it's regurgitation of similar story. It's just not written. It's just not done wholeheartedly. The kind of stuff I would like to look at is the huge plethora, the ultraviolet, the infrared of the light, which we are not talking about. And we have talked about it before. We can talk about it, or we don't talk about it, and we don't address it. I would like to hear the stories of these great women behind all these production houses and broadcasters. What has been their struggle in life, and how they have reached where they have reached. If you want to keep it women-centric, please do. But then show women as progressive and strong women, which we have all around. And ironically, running these production houses and broadcasting stations. So I'd like to hear those. I'd like to hear about the stories of the common man, of how he or she spends their day in life. These are going to be recorded in history as something that will be referred to in stories of entertainment. Now, it has to be a story because it's stories that attract people. And it's through stories that we tell people, pass on the wisdom and teach things, right? All our good teachers were good storytellers. That's what we learned. And this is how it's always worked from time immemorial. So that storytelling has to come through. Now, if that storytelling is weak and limited, then we're really not passing it to anyone. We're just running the mill and paying the bills. That's it. That has unfortunately been impediment. The issue is that they've said, all right, what sells? We're just going to do it. We're not even going to think about it.
In that case, I think the web industry is really, working on quality content as opposed to more commercialized aspect, because we're getting to see more independent filmmakers taking a leap into this industry with regard to web content. Don't you agree?
Absolutely. It's given the freedom of content to begin with. Now, yes, there are some who have not put up a good enough standard of grade of, but the subject has been reasonable. It's just like so many people who used to do theater. Fantastic spirit, great people, good idea. But because they haven't understood the language of storytelling in the medium of theater, they would do a pretty bad job. So have some people done for web. But nonetheless, there are some people who are now venturing into the OTTs and the web format. But unless and until that becomes commercially viable, sustainable, it will be just another romance which is going to die. So we need to somehow find a commercial viability.
Right. Now, moving on, Omair, do you think that our entertainment industry is ageist?
In what sense? How would you think so?
In terms of not creating content or not creating stories that are meant for more older actors, more older artists.
Great.
And it does not really have to do with females, it also has to do with males. What is your
absolutely. I mean, when you've got what was that? The Kominsky method on Netflix, and what's the other one? The fantastic old ladies that we were Grace and something to follow that on Netflix. So we're talking about elderly people and their stories, and they can be amazing. Yes, ours unfortunately it's not, and again it's because of the chutzpah, the flash, the sexiness, all that stuff that's going on. So the aged are usually used as stock characters for parents, right? Or the elderly person who shouldn't have gotten married to this young person. So unfortunately, it's worked on that, and it is again very limiting. However, come to think of it, even unfortunately, our society has been trained to become ageist. Although traditionally our society has never been this way. Traditionally, our society has always respected the elder, so they've looked up to the elder. So imagine again combining both the answers that I just gave you. Imagine storytelling, and through the storytelling, you've got an elderly couple, persons, whatever, who are the protagonists of here and passing on that wisdom to you in one form. So it needs to be addressed. I do know that there's some projects happening. I know there's one under recording, which is centric character is elder, and a very good actor. So I can't think the details, but that's what they are. But then again, there's one in many.
Yeah, there aren't enough.
Not enough.
Yeah. Right. Now, Omair, to conclude, can you please tell the viewers a bit about your upcoming projects, what you're working on, and beyond that?
Well, I'm working on this. I've signed a film and been working on that, and hopefully just signing a serial very soon, which also entertains this. So those two things are coming in the offing. There are again 2 other TV projects which I've lined up for further down. One of them maybe I'm keen in looking into one of them, which is talking about the importance of media and news. The other one's very important to me. It's about, which has been very important to me lately, particularly, is how the issues of practical and everyday issues of raising children. So those 2 are very close to my heart.